20th century. 100 years that changed everything. The birth of flight, the rise of the internet, the splitting of the atom. But behind the headlines and the history books, there's another story, one written in the margins. A story of secrets, cover-ups, and silent agreements. A history not of nations, but of hidden hands. Today, we explore the secret world beneath the surface, the hidden history of the 20th century. Every major event has an official version, but history rarely moves by chance alone. Behind closed doors, power often gathers in secret. From the smoke-filled rooms of early industrialists to the wartime councils that redrew maps, influence has never been evenly shared. After World War II, as the Cold War began, new myths took root. The idea of a shadow government, an unelected network of intelligence agencies, defense contractors, and global financiers pulling strings behind democratic systems. The term deep state, now widely used, first appeared to describe hidden power in Turkey. But the idea spread far beyond. Could Western democracies themselves be guided by unseen interests? What President Eisenhower once warned against as the military-industrial complex. Eisenhower's farewell speech in 1961 wasn't just a warning about money and weapons. It was a glimpse into a future where private interests and government goals might quietly merge. Many believe that moment marked the birth of a system that still shapes our world. After World War II, the United States launched Operation Paperclip, recruiting over 1,600 German scientists, including former Nazi engineers, to work on rockets, medicine, and mind control research. Officially, it was about beating the Soviets in science. But declassified documents revealed darker motives, an obsession with human experimentation and psychological control. This led to Project MK Ultra, one of the most infamous secret programs of the 20th century. Beginning in the 1950s, the CIA funded experiments on unwitting citizens, testing LSD, hypnosis, and other methods to manipulate memory and behavior. When the project was exposed in the 1970s, much of the evidence had already been destroyed. But the fragments that survived revealed a disturbing truth. Even in open societies, science could be used as a weapon of control. The Cold War wasn't just a standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was a series of hidden wars, fought through coups, propaganda, and secret funding. In 1953, Iran's Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh was overthrown in a coup orchestrated by Western intelligence agencies. A move long denied, but later confirmed through declassified documents. In the following decades, similar operations played out in Guatemala, Chile, and across Africa and Asia. These were the quiet mechanics of empire, invisible wars that shaped nations for generations. Even the space race, once portrayed as a peaceful contest of innovation, carried strategic shadows. Satellites weren't just about exploration, they were about surveillance. Every rocket that reached the sky also brought the world closer to the ultimate military high ground, control of orbit. As technology advanced, truth became another battlefield. Governments, media, and intelligence agencies learned to shape perception as effectively as armies shape borders. During the Cold War, propaganda was everywhere, but not always easy to see. The CIA's Operation Mockingbird, for example, allegedly funded journalists and news outlets to spread pro-Western narratives. Though the full scope of the operation remains debated, it reminds us that even in free societies, information could be curated from above. The Soviet Union, meanwhile, perfected its own machinery of misinformation, discrediting opponents, spreading false stories, and turning suspicion itself into a weapon. By the end of the century, the truth had become fluid. And in that fluidity, conspiracy theories thrived. Some stories are simply too strange to vanish. In 1950, a US Air Force bomber carrying nuclear material disappeared over Canada. It was never found. In the 1960s, reports emerged of secret Antarctic expeditions, allegedly to investigate anomalous phenomena beneath the ice. No official record confirms such missions, yet photographs and testimonies persist. And then there's Roswell, 1947. Perhaps the most famous mystery of all. A crashed object in the New Mexico desert, described at first as a flying disc, quickly rebranded as a weather balloon. For decades, Roswell has symbolized the tension between public truth and classified reality. Was it alien, experimental aircraft, or something in between? A secret so human that it needed to look extraterrestrial. Throughout history, small groups have gathered in secret, convinced they were shaping destiny. The 20th century was no different. The Bilderberg Group, first meeting in 1954, brought together political leaders and business elites to discuss global strategy privately. Critics called it a breeding ground for a global elite. Supporters said it was just diplomacy without cameras. Then, there are older names. The Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Skull and Bones Society at Yale, woven into modern myths about power and control. Historians see these as symbolic networks of influence, not puppet masters of the world. Yet the fascination endures, because they represent a timeless human fear. That the decisions shaping our lives are made in rooms we'll never enter. The mid-century also saw governments experiment with boundaries once thought untouchable. From radiation tests on soldiers to secret biological programs, ethics often followed innovation, not the other way around. The Tuskegee syphilis study, for example, ran from 1932 to 1972. Hundreds of African American men were left untreated for syphilis, so scientists could observe the disease's progress. When this became public, the outrage reshaped medical ethics forever. Elsewhere, both East and West explored psychological warfare, manipulating sleep, sensory perception, and even dreams. It was an age when knowledge and morality collided, and secrecy won, again and again. As the century ended, a new kind of secret emerged, invisible not in shadows, but in code. The rise of the internet promised transparency, yet it also built the greatest surveillance tool in human history. In 1999, only a handful of people had heard the term metadata. By the early 21st century, entire populations were being monitored without knowing it, all in the name of security. It was the final transformation of hidden power, from locked rooms to lines of code. The hidden history of the 20th century isn't just about conspiracies or secret files. It's about the tension between what we see and what we're allowed to see, between truth, myth, and the grey space in between. History, after all, is written not only by the victors, but also by those who decide what remains classified.